Welcome to episode 4. Today we'll be discussing the future ramification of the virus and how it relates to our livelihood. Let's get started. When do you think we will resume to normal life?
I think we already have. The only thing is the masks. A lot of people are wearing masks.
We just cannot wait to go back to normal. But what is normal? That was not normal how we used to live.
What's normal life? That's what we should actually start asking ourselves. The way that we knew life is not going to happen at any time soon.
Normal life, never. That's never going to happen. I think people are going to be wearing masks here and there a lot more than we've ever done ever. And in other cultures, like in Asian cultures, wearing masks when you're sick is actually a cultural norm.
Well, I wish I was out and about. I wish I was on the beach. I wish I was traveling and all that fun stuff. But I just don't think things will get back to normal for a while.
Right now, there's so many restrictions with airlines that even if you book a ticket, they just cancel it right away.
I think August, September will be back to economic normalcy. But I think moving forward, people are going to be much more careful with their hygiene, much more careful about crowded areas, deciding whether to wear a mask or not.
I got out of my car to go into Smoothie King and I forgot that I didn't have my mask. And the employees that were working there didn't tell me anything about wearing a mask. Some older man came inside of Smoothie King and began screaming at me, to the point that I didn't do it just because of the way that he approached me about it.
Well, I think that this is gonna probably last until the end of the year.
All the news and there's just injection of fear over these months has people on the edge. So I think that it's gonna take a few more months for people to calm down.
A lot of people right now are hoping that we create a coronavirus vaccine. I'm hopeful that 2021 will have it, but if I were a betting man, I would bet 2022.
Some things have changed for good. It might be for the better.
Pandemics have existed since humanity's been around, and the pandemic has never stopped the way people greet each other and the way people spend time together. And so I think those kind of things are so innately human and so inbuilt in us that I think nothing will ever stop that from being a thing.
I don't know if we are going to have a normal life. I think that is a new life.
I'd hope that things would go back to normal and we would just have a bit more of a sensitive pandemic detection scheme globally.
I'm not sure that we will. I feel like it's going to be a new normal. I think when someone is sneezing now on the public transport, you immediately have this in the back of your mind. Back then, a few months ago, it was you didn't even pay much attention, So I think I don't think it's going to go back.
Will there be a second or third wave?
Viruses evolve on their own. So even this coronavirus, how did it evolve? We think that it was spread from species to species right in the wet markets in China. So you have bats, pigs, dogs, cats, humans. And so any of the viruses there are intermingling within species and it can jump from species to species. So viruses in general can mutate fast and that's kind of what happens. Like the flu, for example, it changes every single year, which is why we come up with new vaccines.
More likely than not that we will get another spike.
It's gonna happen again.
As far as we are informed here in Austria, I think it's definitely going to come, yeah.
And if the people forget it, it's gonna be a mess in 2 months, for sure.
How can you tell the difference between coronavirus and the flu, right? Because come this winter, we'll have both, right? And they're almost identical in how you present initially. And so that's gonna be challenging for people to figure out. So I think the second wave might be complicated because literally if you don't get the flu, you're gonna get coronavirus. And if you don't get coronavirus, you'll get the flu. And how would you know? People are gonna think that we're gonna have double the coronavirus cases in the winter, but in reality, it's because you're gonna have a mixed picture with the flu.
I think people are not acting responsible.
I have fear for my kids. I have fear for something that nobody knows.
We went out here to the bar, and that was the probably first time and last time I went. So hundreds of people, it was packed. Nobody wearing masks. Then I was if there is coronavirus, then it's gonna continue.
What's in store for the foreseeable future?
So I think it's going to change just the way human interaction happens, which is going to be so sad because I just like love people and I want to just like be around people and hug them and kiss them and so on and so forth.
When it comes to like social distancing, I don't feel like this should continue.
So I think step one, we wear masks in high density venues. I think that's fine. I think people are becoming much more accustomed to and comfortable with mask wearing. Number two, I think it's reasonable to scan people's foreheads before going into a big crowded venue. If you're gonna come to this concert or you're gonna come to this club, if you have a fever, even if you paid for the ticket, you can come in. And then if once we have the antibody tests that are readily available, get antibody testing and you can show your employer, hey, I've been exposed, I'm safe to work, or sign a waiver saying, if I get exposed to COVID, I'm not gonna sue Trader Joe's, or I'm not gonna sue, Ticketmaster or something. You agree to work and you agree to not sue the company if you just end up getting this virus.
I have the antibodies and still I'm wearing my mask.
You won't be able to just go up and hug somebody, or I feel like you just won't be able to go and just have a one-night stand with somebody you met at the bar. I think you're going to have to be very cautious because you're thinking about your health.
Friends of mine, people that I know on Facebook, posting, finally we don't need to hug and kiss each other like on the cheeks. I'm European, so it's in my culture. We always hug someone, we kiss. It's a part of embracing another person, and I love it. This is actually one of my favorite things to do when I'm meeting like new people.
When COVID first started, our tests took about 24 to 48 hours. Now the tests take 3 hours, right? So we're getting better and better and better. Some places they can do it in 15 minutes. I think the next step is to make it much more sensitive and specific.
What does the future of your industry look like?
I think management really had to let micromanagement go. They couldn't oversee the work of some of their teams as much as they did before.
Some people don't even know if they will have a job. For example, there is the sales manager, so she's selling the events, and there cannot be still no events in the hotel where she's working at Vela because there cannot be bigger groups.
Right now, Netflix hasn't gone through a lot of productions. Everything has been suspended. They say they're going to start resuming into production around September, October. So production-wise, I think it's going to go 100% back to normal.
We every time depended of a producer or somebody that wants to contract you, and now it's your own TV channel and your own TV show and your own movie that you are writing. I think that is a positive evolution.
Marketing in general, it's just going to change how we interact with clients. It's going to change how we do certain business transactions. But the thing about this industry right now is that it's already moved digital.
We are fully booked now every day. It's so busy. So it really depends on the location.
Well, I think that the PPP helped a lot of businesses, but of course, only the businesses that were allowed to function during the quarantine. Because if you had a club or an entertainment business with dancers, you can't keep your employees on payroll because you don't even have customers. You don't even have an open business.
The hotels, that's a bit awkward because one of the most luxury things that you enjoy in a hotel is actually room service and housekeeping. And now both of them, they have been completely removed from the map. You actually need to make your bed, which I'm not a big fan of it. I don't even make my bed in my own house.
Obviously, we took a hit because 3 months of less productivity obviously entails less economics and all those things. But I think that we'll get back to normal very quickly.
I'm very happy to work from home when the government tells me that I'm doing it for the sake of the country and not cause a massive peak. Whereas if they turned around and said, oh yeah, we'd like you to work from home because that actually saves us a lot of money, my motivation would be pretty low. I'd be like, to be with a team and be with people is such an important thing. And if a company was too dismissive of that, I think that would get my back up and I would feel quite put out by that.
To make my business a bit more attractive to future guests after COVID, I put some new measures, sanitizing the house, waiting 1 day before each house is going to be occupied from the new guests. But on top of that, they're going to have a chef, including in their price.
Did the pandemic change you?
What I learned many things to save money because it's happened something like this. I have the company, so I need to afford many debts, many things that I have to pay every month.
I know that if I do get it again, it's very mild. For me, I'd rather be free and than having to wear a mask and wear gloves and all this, this plastic with the shields. I honestly think it's a little ridiculous.
Instead of becoming more patient with other people, we actually became more selfish. And this is something that as a new generation, like in my 30s, I was let down.
You know yourself better now, no? So you know that you're not gonna die. If they say you need to be 15 days, don't see the light or don't go out, you can do it again. But I don't want it. I don't. It was good. That is the past.
In my circle, I feel like everyone is more appreciative. I feel like everyone is still in this mode of like just a bit slowed down. Just took a few steps back and realized what's important. Like, for example, when it comes to work, so many of my friends, they just close to they're on the edge of a nervous breakdown or a burnout. And I feel like now people stepped back and said, okay, what is important actually in life? And I think that's when we realized that, it's family, it's about communication, it's about, connection and building memories.
Maybe people will slow down a little bit. There's like a big sense of community, especially in terms of local areas and kind of pulling together in a crisis, especially here.
I just feel like, people are not going to pay more attention to the small things. I think it's not going to be for the long term, in my opinion.
What is your general takeaway?
There's going to be a lot more space for innovation and a lot more space for people to fit in and make a difference. A lot of people have time now where they didn't have time like 4 months ago. Now if you send them a message on LinkedIn and say, hey, can I have 20 minutes of your time? They're like, yeah.
I do enjoy working from home. I don't think that it should be done 100% of the time, but I also don't believe that people should be physically in an office 100% of the time.
We still don't know. I don't trust much in our government, the way they are gonna help.
Even sleeping a little more, to be honest. I sleep between 5 to 6 hours a night. When I was in quarantine, I was sleeping the 7 to 8, which is what we should get.
On the personal side, my takeaway is just to really love myself and really appreciate myself and really appreciate the small things in life, because that's what makes life juicy.
The things that I didn't like, all the 6 feet and the mask and all of that, was just like, okay, because at the end of the day, I believe that it should be a personal decision. If you're scared, okay, stay home. Wash your hands 17 times a day. Go out in a plastic bag with 2 holes so you could just see, but not everybody else. So that's about it.
Well, the thing is that I don't know anyone, who has the coronavirus and stuff. So as I said, you don't know even if it's real or if it's not, So it's hard to kind of say, but I would definitely say that at least everybody should be washing their hands, very often.
You see a lot of discrepancies between the protesters that we just had for Black Lives Matter, and at the same time, people couldn't go outside after 10. A lot of young people that defied the guidelines. It's not about yourself. I kept hearing people, I'm young, I'm gonna make it. But at the same time, most of the people that got sick and died, they actually contracted it from their own household.
Things can really change quickly, and we need to adapt even better than before.
You cannot plan on anything. It's changed so many things. Like my friend was supposed to come to visit me in March. We wanted to go to Orlando. I was so excited, and I was so excited, and then I was disappointed, So it made me really realize that you can never know what's gonna happen, and you should be just grateful for the present moment. So every day I try, to remember myself that I can be happy I'm alive today, this day that I woke up,
I took for granted how important it is to have a savings account, right? Because when the economy crashed, essentially, right, and people needed stimulus checks, it was really painful to realize, oh my God, this is why everyone says saving is important.
I've never experienced anything in my life where literally everyone everywhere is experiencing the same thing. We're all dealing with the same thing, which is quite a strange thing. And I suppose in a way it's quite unifying that that's happening. I find it quite nice about the idea that people are willing to break government laws and risk certain things in order to just be together. And I think that's something that, yeah, I really like that. And I think I'm going to try and, like I said, kind of try and see that even more so going out of it.
It was a very big stop for the humanity. I think that everybody must be learned something about that.
Definitely, it made me realize, or made me sure that I want to help other people, you know, like consider mental health, because that's what I always felt like, you know, I want to help people. So it definitely made me like grounded.
During this whole lockdown, all we had was time. And I felt like, listen, Steffi, you need to face this now, okay? You have to work on these things because you've been not doing it for the last 15 years. So you have to figure it out and read your books and do your meditation and figure out what's causing certain things. So for me, it was more of this spiritual journey that I've been postponing, and somehow I'm very much just in it now, and I'm really thankful for that. Yeah.